My husband's childhood sweetheart, Suchian, with her ruby lips and porcelain teeth, framed me for deliberate murder. Weeping like a wounded doe, she accused me of causing her miscarriage. Me husband, Zheng, magistrate of our county, didn't bother with a shred of investigation. He personally brought me a bowl of that vile black safflower concoction and forced it down my throat, his fingers clamping my jaw like a vice. The scalding brew seared my throat raw and burned away the last ember of affection I held for him. He had me dragged to the courthouse like a dead cur, then with a flourish of his brush, personally changed my original 3-year sentence to public execution by beheading. In the 5 days before my final hearing, I languished in that putrid, mould-ridden dungeon, biting my fingertips bloody to write countless appeals. Each word was penned in my own blood, declaring my innocence, yet they vanished like stones into a bottomless well, coldly dismissed by him time and again. 3 days before my execution, that tomb-silent cell finally stirred with hope. Word came that a new witness had emerged with crucial testimony. The case was in doubt, a retrial was granted. In that moment, a tiny flame called life flickered back to life in my deadened eyes. But when the retrial day arrived, the courthouse was as cold and forbidding as a mausoleum. Suchian merely sent her little maid with a casual message. She'd remembered something painful and was suffering abdominal cramps from the distress. Zheng's face darkened like a thundercloud upon hearing this. Without allowing the witness to utter a single word, he hastily hurled down that scarlet execution token, dismissed the hard-won witness, and stormed off, leaving nothing but his resolute silhouette and a courtroom in uproar. The crowd erupted in chaos, yet I alone heard the sound of my heart turning to ash. The jailer brought me a final meal tainted with grit, a condemned prisoner's last supper, offering me pitying glances as he prepared to escort me to my fate. When that ice-cold execution token bearing the character for death was cast into the dirt before me, my chest felt as though a rusty, blunt blade had carved it open, twisting flesh and sinew. That witness cowered in the courtroom. If only Zheng had paused for a moment, if only he'd listened to half a sentence, just half, it would have cleared me of crimes more unjust than those of Dawi herself. But Zheng, the magistrate who prided himself on loving his people like children and solving cases like a sage, couldn't spare even a moment for his own wife. He fled as though from a serpent, frantically abandoning his execution order to rush to his precious little sweetheart. In the end, I died bearing the stigma of a murderess, my blood spattering 3 feet as the jeering masses spat their curses. When I next opened my eyes, the world's clamour had grown distant. I had become a rootless, vengeful spirit, finally freed from that foul, stinking cell crawling with vermin light. As willow down, I drifted uncontrollably until I found myself beside Zheng. He stood in the city's finest medical hall. Those elegant fingers opened the bamboo-patterned purse I had embroidered by flickering candlelight, stitch by painstaking stitch. He withdrew still warm silver coins and paid the physician. Turning to Suchian, I saw her face blooming like a peach blossom, rosy and radiant, where was even a trace of abdominal agony. How deliciously ironic. My corpse lay just streets away on that blood-soaked execution ground, neck severed, blood pooled and cooling. Meanwhile, the architect of my destruction, Suchian, sat here with eyes curved in laughter, basking in springtime warmth. "Brother Jang, with you here, Chan's tummy hardly hurts at all," she purred, her voice sickeningly sweet. Zheng's eyes brimmed with indulgence as his large palm rubbed her flat belly through her clothing. "Then perhaps these hands are more effective than the physician's prescriptions." Their flirtation was interrupted by hurried footsteps outside. A bailiff respectfully presented Zheng with a dust-covered execution receipt. I drifted over like a phantom, staring intently at that document. I wanted to see his reaction to those stark words, execution by beheading completed. Perhaps he'd show some emotion, some moment of stiffness. But I was destined for disappointment. Zheng merely frowned with irritation, those fingers that once painted my eyebrows now holding the receipt by its corner with disgust, not bothering to glance at it before tossing it back to the bailiff. "What is the matter, Brother Jang?" Suchian peered over, the picture of innocence, though triumph glittered in her eyes. Zheng's tone was casual as he instructed the bailiff, "File it at the courthouse and stamp it according to protocol. Don't trouble me with such trivial matters in future." When he turned to Suchian, his voice instantly softened, as though he'd become an entirely different person. "Just some insignificant criminal who died nothing worth soiling your ears with." Was it Sister Shuli? Suchian bit her bloodless lip, her eyes immediately reddening as tears appeared on cue. "It is my fault for being so fragile. Knowing today's trial could determine Sister Shuli's fate, yet my stomach chose this moment to act up. This performance was identical to her courtroom theatrics, when she'd wept about my allegedly pushing her down and causing her to lose the child that never existed. Back then, she'd sobbed just like this, claiming through her tears that she didn't blame her sister, only cursed her own lack of fortune in bearing the Song family's eldest grandson. And Zheng had responded exactly as he did now, heartbroken, pulling Suchian protectively into his arms, like she was the rarest treasure. "Why mention that murderer on such a lovely day?" His brow creased as disgust filled his eyes at the thought of me. "She killed an innocent servant and caused you to lose your child. That vicious woman deserved a bloody lesson. You are still recovering. Don't let such inauspicious talk affect your health." Though I was merely a spirit without a heart, the space where my heart should be ached as though pierced by another blade. "Zheng, do you know? Just half an hour ago, that inauspicious person you so despise had completely vanished from this world because of your fifth broken promise, because of your prejudice and selective hearing. She couldn't even leave behind a complete corpse." Zheng carefully escorted Suchian from the medical hall back to our home, the home that once belonged to him and me. On the bedroom vanity once sat a red agate carving of mandarin ducks at play. During our wedding year, he'd taken special leave to travel to Mount Fu, scouring jade shops to find that token. He'd said this piece in our chamber would bless our marriage with love, longevity, and many children. Now, those mandarin ducks had vanished without trace. In their place hung an inkwash painting of mountain dwellings. I'd heard the servants gossip that Zheng had guided Suchian's hand stroke by stroke, teaching her to paint it every brushstroke dripping with sentiment. A maid served fresh tea, its fragrance curling through the air. Zheng naturally took the cup, bringing it to his lips to blow until it cooled to the perfect temperature before offering it to Suchian. His movements were practiced and thoughtful, as though they were the devoted couple who'd shared years together. "Brother Jang, could you stay with Chonchan tonight?" Suchian tugged at his sleeve, asking timidly, her eyes filled with terror. That threatening letter Jiang Shuli nailed to the window frame. I still get nightmares thinking about it. I hovered from the rafters, coldly observing this tender scene. A threatening letter. Half after being thrown into that death cell, I'd bitten my fingers, bloody writing appeal after appeal to prove my innocence. Zheng had dismissed each one without a glance. Knowing I wouldn't give up, Suchian had bribed the jailers to break 3 of my fingers. Those heavy shackles had cut deep into my ankle flesh, festering and rotting. Every movement tore off another piece of skin in agonizing pain. I could barely hold a brush. How could I have had the strength to nail threatening letters anywhere? Zheng's expression darkened as he tenderly stroked Suchian's tear-dampened cheek, his voice soft as silk. "Don't be afraid. With me here, she can't harm you." But, Suchian shrank into his embrace, trembling slightly. "When she is released from prison, won't she come after me? She may be on death row, but if someone testifies for her, couldn't she be freed?" Zheng gave a cold laugh, his fingers absently caressing her waist in comfort. Released. As long as I hold this magistrate's position for a single day, Jiang Shuli will never set foot outside that cell. He yanked off the jade belt symbolizing his authority and slammed it onto the table with a sharp crack. She could have lived, but she had to provoke you. Now she has got blood on her hands. That day in court, as a public servant seeking justice for the old nurse she pushed into the pond, and to teach her the consequences of crossing you, even if I had to lie through my teeth, I swore I'd witnessed the entire incident. Truth is, it was rather dark that evening. I didn't see everything clearly. But to vindicate you and give that poor dead woman justice, I had to demonstrate a magistrate's impartiality. Suchian finally relaxed, nestling against him with satisfied purrs, triumph dancing in her eyes. Suddenly, as though remembering something urgent, she looked up anxiously. But the carpenter fixing the window said he might have seen something else. Does that matter? Zheng chuckled lowly, tightening his embrace. Don't fret in this courthouse. I make the rules. A witness's testimony only counts if I approve it. If I don't believe him, his words aren't worth a dog's fart. He held Suchian's waist, his expression radiating the arrogance and wildness of one who holds power over life and death. You didn't see how that jealous harridan refused to accept her fate even in prison, constantly submitting appeals, trying to manipulate my sympathy with those pathetic arguments, utterly incorrigible. A cruel smirk twisted his lips. I wanted to break her spirit. If she hoped to live, she needed to learn submission and stop dreaming of causing more trouble. My heart lurched, indescribable pain spreading from my core throughout my being. On our wedding night, beneath flickering red candles, Zheng had lifted my veil with eyes full of love, saying he most admired my courage, determination, and fighting spirit. Now those very qualities had become the chains that strangled me. I floated above, watching his smug expression, feeling only absurd devastation. Oh, Zheng, you were the emperor's personally appointed magistrate, renowned for justice and integrity. You were the honest official praised by common folk. In your courtroom, you'd sworn never to allow wrongful convictions, but this time you lost completely and utterly. You didn't just sacrifice your wife's life, you sacrificed the very justice and integrity you'd spent a lifetime pursuing. You destroyed your own backbone as an official. From this moment, there would be no redemption. Suchian exhaled in relief, guiding Zheng's hand to her chest with a coquettish pout. Brother Zheng, you are so good to Chan. After being married so long, why didn't Sister Shuli learn even a fraction of your character? No wonder she ended up like this. Her, Zheng scoffed, disdain nearly spilling from his eyes as though discussing something filthy. I only married her because she used underhanded tactics, creating such a scandal that gossip flew everywhere. I had no choice but to take responsibility. I floated before Zheng, towering rage nearly tearing my soul apart. I summoned every ounce of strength to slap that hypocritical face. But my fingers passed straight through his body, striking empty air. I didn't kill anyone. I shrieked into his ear, each word bloody as a cuckoo's cry. It was her Suchian deliberately staged that fall to frame me. The old nurse witnessed everything and was about to tell you the truth when Suchian pushed her into the lotus pond to silence her, then pinned it all on me. But no one in that room could hear a vengeful spirit's cries. Only the candle flame flickered slightly. Zheng felt a chill at his neck and frowned involuntarily, pulling his slightly open collar closed. How did such a cold draft get in? Suchian seized the opportunity to cling tighter, wrapping around him like an octopus. Perhaps Sister Shuli misses you from her cell. Her resentment has grown rather heavy. She dares to miss me. Zheng's eyes filled with revulsion and contempt. She has been quieter these past days. No more messages through the jailer. No more scribbled appeals. Seems she has learned her lesson. In a few days, when the courthouse is less busy, I'll visit the death cell. Suchian's body went rigid, her voice cracking with fear. Brother Zheng, why see her? That place is so dirty and foul. To deliver divorce papers. Song Zheng's brow furrowed as though discussing a necessary chore. How can such a murderous vixen deserve to be my wife? Keeping her in the Song family name for even one day soils our reputation and humiliates me before my colleagues. Divorce papers? I drifted in mid-air, gazing at his ice-cold features, feeling only deathly chill in my heart. Even anger seemed superfluous. No need, Song Zheng, soon. You'll be notified to collect my corpse. Between us, it is long past what divorce papers could resolve. Death has severed all ties. Only this way can we have a clean break, one that will torment you with regret for the rest of your days. The following days passed pleasantly for Song Zheng. During the Lantern Festival, he escorted Suchian to the lamp exhibition, puzzling over riddles at stalls, determined to win a rabbit lantern that would make his sweetheart smile. When Suchian stood by the lake, lamenting fallen spring blossoms, he immediately arranged a pleasure boat, accompanying her to the lake's heart to tenderly gather every petal in a handkerchief and ceremoniously commit them to the water. Meanwhile, my corpse, unclaimed and bound by spiritual constraints, kept me tethered like an earth-bound ghost, unable to stray from his side. I watched him offer another woman every scene, every landscape he'd once promised me. Until the third afternoon, when golden sunlight bathed everything. Song Zheng actually ordered my long-sealed dowry chest opened. Those elegant fingers picked through its contents before selecting a kingfisher feather hairpin. He held it carefully against Suchian's coiffure, eyes full of admiration. He wanted to choose the most flattering piece as her birthday gift. As the pair exchanged loving glances, his guard burst in, looking terrified, forgetting all protocol. "Sir, disaster. The Morning Herald has brought a black box from the execution ground. They say the criminal beheaded days ago had no family to claim the body, so by law it must be brought to your residence." Song Zheng scowled at the interruption, though his hands continued adjusting the hairpin's position. Must I be consulted on such trifles? Am I keeping a pack of idiots? Since no one claimed it, follow standard procedure, hang the head at the market gate for public display. With all the foot traffic, someone will eventually collect it. The guard finally caught his breath and dropped to his knees, voice trembling. "No, sir, this corpse is meant for you to collect, because the box contains..." Crack! Song Zheng's fingers tightened on the hairpin, which scratched Suchian's scalp. His eyes flashed with inexplicable panic. Just as I drifted closer for a better look, his voice turned harsh again, masking that unease. "Contains what? Speak clearly instead of mumbling. Don't tell me it is Jiang Shuli's head." He laughed coldly, his tone dripping with disgust and contempt. "That madwoman never stops. Now she has enlisted my own staff in this charade." Suchian covered her mouth and giggled, eyes full of mockery. "Don't be angry, brother Zheng. Sister Shuli cares so much about you that she has invented these jealous little tricks to make you visit her." Jealous tricks? Until that heavy blade fell and blood spurted, I'd still been foolishly hoping Song Zheng would come, hoping he'd gallop into the execution ground shouting, "Stop!" to save my life and restore my name. The box held a head that, even in death, stared wide-eyed with ultimate despair and unwillingness, eyes that refused to close. I wondered how Song Zheng would react to seeing those eyes. The guard swallowed hard, sweat beading his forehead as he nearly pressed his head into the floor. "Sir, you should see for yourself." Song Zheng's expression darkened completely. He hurled down the hairpin and strode toward the main hall. "Let's see what new tricks she is trying." I floated behind him, watching his furious retreating figure, feeling a twisted, perverse satisfaction. Songjung, you won't see tricks. Only a bloody severed head. The main hall lay shrouded in deathly silence. A black-robed mourning herald stood expressionless, holding a heavy black lacquered box with its lid already open. Inside lay something wrapped in coarse black cloth, roundish in shape. The cloth's edges were stained with dried, dark red bloodstains, emanating a faint metallic stench. The mourning herald's appearance with his black box would signal tragedy to any commoner. But Songjung didn't think in that direction. Or rather, subconsciously, he refused to consider it, despite having 10,000 reasons. Magistrate Song, the herald spoke with grave formality, devoid of personal emotion. This is an unclaimed criminal's remains from the execution ground, delivered per statute to your residence. Please accept our condolences. Please accept our condolences. Those 5 words plunged the vast hall into sepulchral silence. Several guards lowered their heads, afraid to breathe, cowering as they dared not look at Songjung's reaction. Songjung's steps halted abruptly 3 paces from the black box. As though something had nailed his feet to the ground, his gaze fixed on the red coral bracelet resting atop the black cloth. He recognized it immediately, the protective charm he'd knelt 3 times to obtain from the temple on our wedding day, the one he'd personally fastened on my wrist. He'd said this bracelet would ward off evil and disaster, insisting I wear it daily. Songjung staggered backward, his body slamming into the table behind him, making the teacups rattle. His expression froze, transforming from initial contempt to profound shock and bewilderment. But the shock lasted only an instant. Soon Songjung gritted his teeth, forcing himself to regain composure. His gaze turned venomous, sweeping over the guards and herald like a serpent. How much did Jiang Shuli pay you to participate in this farce? The guards looked confused and terrified, sir. Condolences. Ha ha ha. Songjung suddenly threw back his head in laughter, as though hearing the world's greatest joke. He strode past everyone, drawing the ceremonial sword from the wall with a sharp ring, its cold light flashing as he pressed it to the herald's throat. So, to force me to see her, you'll even resort to such ghoulish, inauspicious tricks. Tell me, how much did that murderer pay you to stage this death charade? I am raising a pack of treacherous curs. The guards exchanged bewildered glances, struck speechless with terror. The herald's expression shifted as he felt the blade's icy edge against his neck, but he patiently explained, Magistrate Song executions follow strict legal protocols. As a county magistrate well versed in law, you understand this better than anyone. You personally cast the execution token. After the condemned was verified and executed, the supervising official filled out the receipt, which your bailiff delivered for your personal seal. Only after courthouse officials verified everything did they order the remains collected and delivered here. By statute, unclaimed bodies with living relatives must be personally delivered to next of kin. Songjung suddenly remembered. That day, when Suchian complained of abdominal pain amid the chaos, a bailiff had indeed presented him with a receipt. What had he said? Some insignificant criminal died, nothing important. He hadn't even glanced at the criminal's name on that receipt before ordering it stamped and filed. Relative. What kind of relative am I? Songjung's eyes blazed red, veins bulging at his temples as he roared hysterically. I am the magistrate who sentenced her to death, not some bailiff responsible for collecting corpses. The herald stared in disbelief at this usually refined gentleman, but couldn't help offering counsel. Sir, your wife bore your name for years. The whole city knows this. As they say, 1 day as husband and wife, 100 days of affection. Even if she committed heinous crimes, now that she is dead, you should collect her remains and let her rest in peace. Get out! Songjung kicked the herald, sending him stumbling. The herald staggered backward, losing his grip on the box. Crash! The box hit the ground and splintered apart. The black bundle rolled out, spinning several times before stopping precisely at Song Jiang's feet. The cloth's tight knots had loosened considerably. Several strands of black, dried hair emerged, stained with dark red scabs and grey dust. Song Jiang stared at those hair strands, pupils contracting violently, chest heaving as though about to explode. Through years of marriage, Song Jiang had daily drawn osmanthus water for my hair, arranging it in flowing cloud knots each morning. He'd never missed a single day. The colour and texture of those strands were carved into his eyes, into his very bones. He pointed at the thing on the ground, his finger trembling violently, yet still snarling in denial. Jiang Shuli, fine, just fine. Forging appeal documents wasn't enough now. You've found someone to fake a corpse. Who are you trying to frighten? He spun around, roaring at the kneeling guards with a hoarse voice. Summon her now. Bring Jiang Shuli from the dungeon. Drag her if necessary. I am convening court immediately. Today, I'll settle all her new and old accounts together. No mercy. I drifted beside that black bundle, gazing at the hair I'd once treasured. Now muddy as clay, so ridiculous, so absurd. I lay right before him, dead beyond repair, shattered beyond assembly. Yet he still fantasized about summoning what? Song Jiang, it is real. That is me. Why won't you just believe it? Just then Suchian, hearing the commotion from the front hall, hurried over. Brother Zheng, what is happening? Don't get upset. Ah, what is seeing the blood-stained black bundle and those protruding dead strands? Suchian shrieked and flung herself into Song Jiang's arms, shaking all over. Don't look, Chan. Song Jiang immediately covered her eyes, steadying his expression as his tone forced itself softer. It is just Jiang Shuli's body double trick. Don't let it sully your sight. His gaze fell coldly on the red coral bracelet scattered on the ground, the protection he'd once knelt in heavy snow to obtain for me. I'd worn it daily, never removing it, treasuring it like a jewel. That vixen, I never imagined she'd stoop so low, using the coral bracelet I gave her to make this deception convincing. These treacherous dogs are actually helping her perform this charade. How could Sister Shuli do this? Suchian hid in his embrace, tears welling as she played the frightened little rabbit. Even if she hates me, she shouldn't use such inauspicious things to disgust people. This is clearly cursing us to horrible deaths. She has always been this vicious heart like a snake and scorpion. Song Jiang seethed with fury, lifting his foot to kick the black bundle away with revulsion. My head slid several meters across the floor with a thud against the hard table corner, kicked away like a bag of refuse by the man who'd once loved me most. Song Jiang glared murderously at his kneeling subordinates. One incense stick. I am giving you one incense stick's time. Bring Jiang Shuli to the courthouse for trial. Otherwise, I'll throw you all in the death cell to keep her company in madness. One guard who'd once received my kindness stared at the rolling head, his expression changing repeatedly. Finally, unable to suppress his conscience and terror, he threw himself heavily to the ground, head knocking loudly. Sir, Madam has truly been beheaded. What is wrapped in that black cloth is Madam's head. That day I personally escorted Madam to the execution ground. I stood below the platform and watched the executioner's blade fall, her blood splattered across my face. Several older guards went pale, frantically trying to pull him away and cover his mouth, but it was too late. Song Jiang's eyes blazed like an enraged beast's. He strode forward and seized the guard's throat in an iron grip, lifting him off the ground. You treacherous dog, you are Jiang Shuli's accomplice, aren't you? You are helping her lie because she has been bribing you. How dare you lie to my face, corruption, deceiving superiors. Each crime deserves death. I could kill you today, and you wouldn't be wronged." The guard's neck was clamped in that iron grip, feet dangling, hands clawing frantically until his face purpled and eyes rolled back. The others scrambled in terror, kowtowing frantically, trembling violently as pleas filled the hall. "Mercy, sir, we'll investigate immediately. We'll expose Madam's tricks and give you answers." Hearing this, Zheng's expression softened slightly. He released his grip, dropping the guard to the floor. He straightened his dishevelled robes, standing tall as his voice recovered its usual clarity and pride. "Suchian, help me change into official robes. I am going to the courthouse to personally expose Jiang Shuli's shameless charade. I'll teach her who rules in Qinghe County." Outside the courthouse, the long silent justice drum thundered ear-splittingly, each beat threatening to shatter the courtroom's rafters. Zheng sat beneath that gold-lettered mirror of justice plaque, magistrally imposing and stern. He narrowed his eyes, fingers tapping rhythmically on the gavel, waiting to expose my supposed monumental lie. In his imagination, I should be kneeling below in tears, admitting to fabricated crimes to preserve my life, awaiting his lofty pronouncement of my sins. "Guards," he slammed the table, the gavel cracking sharply as he bellowed. "Bring the criminal Jiang Shuli before me. I'll see just how stubborn she can be." But the two rows of usually formidable bailiffs now exchanged uncertain glances, hanging their heads like quails, none daring to step forward. Deathly silence spread through the courtroom. In the corner, the guard who'd nearly been strangled knelt gasping heavily. He looked up at Zheng's obstinate refusal to face reality, his grief and indignation finally overcoming fear of authority. "Sir, we've turned the entire city upside down, searched every rat hole." The guard's voice trembled but remained clear. "We truly found no trace of Madam. Useless fools, complete incompetence." Zheng's face flushed with rage, fury instantly reddening his eyes as he swept the delicate porcelain teacup from his desk. Crash tea splashed everywhere, fragments scattering across the floor. Suchian had been standing timidly nearby. Seeing this, she quickly approached, tugging his sleeve softly. "Brother Zheng, don't be angry. Tell me, could the criminal executed at the market? Could it really have been Sister Shuli?" "Absolutely impossible." Zheng interrupted without hesitation, as certain as stating universal truth. "I know that woman better than anyone's. She values her life above everything, yet she is proud to her bones, never one to surrender easily." Zheng laughed coldly, eyes full of mockery. "The case isn't even resolved. How could she confess and submit? Someone like her would crawl to court to defend herself, even if carried on a litter." I floated above that mirror of justice plaque, representing fairness and clarity, watching that self-righteous man below, unable to suppress low laughter, laughing until tears stung my phantom eyes. "Yes, Zheng, you once knew me so well. I'd once longed so desperately to live, to grow old with you. To prove my innocence, I'd bitten all 10 fingertips bloody, writing appeals in that sunless cell, submitting them repeatedly, only to have you coldly dismiss each one." Suddenly, Zheng froze like lightning struck stone. Some terrible thought flashed through his mind. He shoved aside the desk, not caring that his official hat went askew, and rushed from the courthouse like a madman. He ran for ages, this magistrate who usually prized appearances now running dishevelled. Sweat streamed down his forehead, soaking his collar, until he stumbled to a halt before that cold, damp death cell reeking of putrid decay. "So, Zheng, are you finally willing to see the truth personally?" Zheng covered his nose and stepped into this prison, seemingly abandoned by sunlight. The air hung thick with nauseating rot and heavy metallic blood mixed with mouldy dampness that made him retch uncontrollably. Jiang Shuli, What kind of ghost trick are you playing?" He retched while cursing, trying to mask his mounting panic with anger. "I am truly furious. You'd better come out this instant, or I'll charge you with deceiving the throne." But as he continued cursing, his voice grew quieter, his steps heavier. Finally, he fell completely silent. He walked slowly forward like a marionette, stiffly crouching before a mottled wall. That wall was covered in bloodstains, horrifying to behold. The blood had long dried and blackened, seeping deep into the cracks. Yet the writing remained clearly discernible. These were the appeals I'd written on the wall with my teeth-bitten fingertips, enduring excruciating pain, stroke by stroke. The topmost line was still neat, written with my final hope. "Jang, I truly didn't kill anyone." Suchian deliberately fell to frame me. The old nurse witnessed this, and Su pushed her into the lotus pond to silence her. The carpenter repairing the window saw everything. You can question him. He can testify for me. Song Jung's fingertips curled sharply, as though burned by those bloody words, trembling uncontrollably. He held his breath, eyes red, forcing himself to continue reading. The writing below grew increasingly sloppy, strokes crooked and broken, some places showing only intermittent blood traces. Anyone reading could imagine the inhuman torture and agony the writer endured. Song Jung-shan had people break my fingers. It hurts so much. They won't let me write appeals anymore. Will I live to see you again, please? Please save me. Every day hurts. It really hurts. Song Jung's trembling intensified, his entire body swaying in the wind. Looking further down, the final line in the corner. The writing was very light and faint by then. I'd bled dry and had little strength left. "Song Jung, the guard says tomorrow is the final trial. Have you found that witness? If you'll just listen to one sentence, just one, it could save my life. Song Jung, we've been married 3 years. You've called me wife for 3 years. For the sake of those 3 years, please save me. If you still want me dead, then so be it. I was blind this lifetime, loved the wrong person. If there is another life, whether in heaven or hell, let's never meet again." "Ah-ha-ha!" Song Jung suddenly clutched his head, erupting in a soul-rending shriek like a wounded beast. Then he went mad, roaring in fury with particular rage. "Jiang Shuli, come out. I forbid you to die without my order. Who gave you permission to die?" Memory's floodgates burst open in that moment. He remembered. Everything came rushing back. That final retrial day, when the crucial witness had just been brought to court, Suchian sent her maid saying she had severe abdominal pain and signs of miscarriage. His heart had been frantic. Then, without even looking at the witness, he'd hastily thrown down a token, dismissed the witness, and stormed off. What token had he thrown down? It was red, glaring, radiating murderous intent, an immediate execution order. He'd personally given the command. He'd personally sent me to the chopping block and taken my life. Just as his rage nearly consumed his sanity, heavy footsteps echoed from the corridor's end. Song Jung turned like a drowning man grasping his last lifeline. "Shuli, is that you? You finally come out." But the light in his eyes died instantly. Only a jailer approached, carrying a water bucket. Seeing Song Jung in such a foul place, the jailer was equally surprised and quickly bowed. "Sir, why have you come to such an inauspicious place? This cell's prisoner was taken for public execution days ago. I am here on orders to clean the bloodstains." Song Jung's eyes became terrifyingly vacant, as though his soul had been instantly extracted. "What nonsense are you spouting?" The jailer thought he hadn't heard clearly and raised his voice. "We're porting to you, sir. The death row prisoner Jiang Shuli from this cell was taken for public beheading at the market at the hour of execution days ago. I've just received the execution receipt from the prison office and am preparing to clean the cell for new prisoners." He respectfully approached, withdrawing that blood-scented execution receipt from his robes and presenting it to Song Zheng. Song Zheng's fingers shook like autumn leaves as he struggled to unfold that thin paper. His gaze locked onto those three characters, Jiang Shuli. Directly above the name was that bright red county magistrate's seal, clear and unmistakable, personally stamped by his own hand. Song Zheng sat beneath that mirror of justice plaque again, like a soul-lost ghost. Only this time, his spine no longer stood straight, his entire being emanated deathly defeat. He summoned the carpenter who'd repaired our windows that day for a retrial. The carpenter knelt below, his voice heavy with undisguised regret and anger. "Sir, I saw clearly from my ladder that day." Miss Su deliberately threw herself from the pavilion. Madame Jang was standing far away and never touched even Miss Su's finger. And that poor old nurse was tragic too. She witnessed everything and tried to run find you for justice. But Miss Su caught up and pushed her into the lotus pond. The old woman struggled in the water for ages before drowning. Here the carpenter snorted heavily with contempt. Strange thing about this, didn't the whole city hear Miss Su miscarried from her fall? But watching from above, seeing how viciously and forcefully she pushed that nurse. How was she like a pregnant woman who'd just miscarried? Zheng's breathing stopped abruptly, his chest gripped by an invisible hand, pain nearly suffocating him. Blue veins bulged terrifyingly on his hands, nails digging deep into his palms. "Do you have anything else to add?" His voice was severely hoarse, like containing a mouthful of sand. Every word scraped raw from his throat. "You'd better tell me everything you know today. If you dare hide anything and I discover it later, I'll punish you severely for withholding evidence." "Sir, I dare not hide a single word." The carpenter quickly kowtowed, remembering something important and speaking urgently. "Actually, there is one more thing." Song Zheng's voice trembled, nearly pleading, "Speak quickly." Miss Su privately sent someone to find me, offering a full 100 taels of silver to buy my silence and make me bury this. The carpenter raised his head, his face showing the simple righteousness common to working people. "Though I am poor and my family can barely eat, I know right from wrong." This concerned Madame Zheng's innocence, and life, 2 lives at stake. How could I take such blood money? Song Zheng suddenly leaned forward, eyes blazing red as he roared. "Then why didn't you report to the authorities? Why didn't you come to me sooner?" The carpenter's voice rose with grievance and resentment at this accusation. "Sir, how can you wrongly accuse me? That day you summoned me to court just as I opened my mouth before I could say one word. You rushed off for Miss Su's sake. When I tried to find another chance to report." The carpenter paused, his voice filled with helplessness and desolation. "I'd barely reached the street corner when I saw Madame Jang already taken to the execution ground. The blade fell and she was publicly beheaded. With the person dead, what good does revealing the truth do now?" Sepulchral silence fell over the courtroom. After an eternity when even the air seemed frozen, Song Zheng hoarsely dismissed the carpenter and summoned the physician who'd been treating Suchian. That physician was a coward at heart after just a few blows, before any serious torture. He was crying for mercy and confessing everything. How Suchian had bribed him with gold to falsify pregnancy records. How she'd forced him to prepare a vicious drug that caused severe abdominal pain and bleeding, symptoms indistinguishable from miscarriage. Each word of the physician's confession was like a poisoned blade, repeatedly stabbing Song Zheng's heart until it was mangled beyond recognition. He stood abruptly. From sitting too long, his legs had gone numb and stiff. His body swayed, heavily striking the table with a dull thud. He felt nothing, as though this body no longer belonged to him, immune to pain. His expression had changed, no longer the earlier confusion, regret and dejection, but a clarity born of deathly calm, a chilling resolve. Song Zheng moved step by step, dragging heavy legs to the black box in the corner. He extended trembling hands to lift the red coral bracelet from the box. Its cold touch hurt his palm. This was the love token he'd given me. After a long while, he slowly lowered his head and with shaking hands unwrapped that black bundle. Shuli! In that instant, massive physiological revulsion and psychological collapse struck simultaneously. He began retching, violently retching, as though trying to expel his organs. Then, without warning, in this courtroom representing authority, before his terrified bailiff's eyes, he dropped straight to his knees, kneeling beneath that ironic mirror of justice plaque. He finally believed he'd personally misjudged a monumental case of injustice, believed the execution order he'd thrown down had severed his life's only love. His wife had walked to that cold execution ground, bearing what enormous injustice and despair. That once proud, imperious county magistrate now hugged my broken remains like a dying dog, bending his noble spine. Brother Zheng, it is so late, why are you still trying cases? The food's getting cold. Suchian's characteristic coquettish voice suddenly came from the doorway. Zheng jerked his head up. Those eyes, crimson, violent, sinister, were exactly like an evil spirit just crawled from the 18th level of hell. Suchian carried an elegant food box, but stepping through the threshold, Zheng's terrifying expression startled her badly. Brother Zheng, what is wrong? You look so frightening. She forced composure, set down the food box, and swayed over to nestle against Zheng's shoulder, trying to deflect with charm. I heard about Sister Shuli too. I am also sad, but the dead can't return, the living must move forward. Let Chan accompany and care for you forever. All right. Faced with Suchian's soft embrace, Zheng didn't respond as usual, but remained silent for ages. The atmosphere grew oppressively suffocating. Finally he spoke, his voice cold as ice shards. That night when I was drunk, did anything really happen between us? Suchian clearly froze, her eyes darting as she unconsciously touched her flat stomach. Why ask this suddenly? That day you were drunk and kept holding my hand. Zheng suddenly grabbed her wrist like an iron clamp. I'll ask you one final time, was your pregnancy real or fake? Ah, Brother Zheng, let go, it hurts. You are hurting me. Suchian frantically beat Zheng's hand, her pretty face instantly flushing purple, cold sweat streaming. Zheng's fingertips pressed against her wrist bone, tightening inch by inch as though to crush her bones. His mind filled with images of my bloodied appeals on that wall, of my 10 broken fingers. Suchian had never seen Zheng like this. His eyes held no trace of former tenderness and pity, only concentrated violence and murderous intent. Suchian, you framed Jiang Shuli for murder. You bribed physicians to fake pregnancy and deceive everyone. Did you or didn't you do these things? Zheng suddenly released her wrist and instead seized her throat in a death grip. Suchian's tears flowed immediately from pain, struggling to breathe, desperately fighting back. Of course I didn't. Cough, cough. Her face was deathly pale, lips trembling as she tried to lie. Brother Zheng, even if I did something, it was because I care too much about you. I couldn't lose you. Slap. A crisp, resounding slap echoed through the courtroom. Suchian's entire head whipped sideways from the blow, half her face instantly swelling as blood seeped from her lip. She covered her cheek, staring at Zheng in disbelief. You actually hit me for that dead woman. What you'll suffer is far more than one slap. Zheng released her chin with disgust, as though touching something filthy, coldly gesturing to his guards. Arrest her. I have methods to make you spit out the truth. Suchian finally realized Zheng's intentions. He truly meant to kill her. She screamed and tried to flee, but was pinned down by 2 strong guards, unable to move. Zheng, you can't treat me like this. You said you liked me. We're childhood sweethearts who grew up together. Have you forgotten everything? Zheng closed his eyes, took a deep breath, and when he reopened them, only bone-deep coldness and resolve remained. By my order, lock this venomous woman in that death cell. I want her to experience everything Shuli suffered there, the pain of broken fingers, the agony of despair 10 times, 100 times over. Suchian was so terrified, she shook uncontrollably, unable even to crawl, curling like a maggot on the ground, her voice shattered beyond recognition. You can't do this to me, Brother Jang. I am your little sweetheart. You said you'd protect me forever. I did say that. Zheng slowly crouched down, gently lifting the black box containing my remains. His movements were tender as though holding the world's only precious treasure, afraid of the slightest damage. But now, I only want to avenge my wife, Suchian. He raised his eyelids, showing undiluted malice and madness. In this courthouse, I make the rules. As long as I remain in this magistrate's position, you'll never step outside that cell door. I'll make you beg for life and death alike. Zheng returned alone to our home, completely lost. The house remained as before, furniture in place. But everything of mine, my clothes, jewellery, even teacups I'd used, had been completely cleared away, as though this home never had a mistress. He frantically searched through boxes and drawers, turning the house into chaos, repeatedly calling my name. Shuli! Shuli! Where are you? But in the empty house, only echoes answered him. No one responded. Finally, Zheng could no longer contain his grief. He dropped to his knees with a thud, covering his eyes as tears streamed through his fingers. Shuli! I really killed Shuli. How could I be so stupid? I am a bastard. Her fingers were broken, 10 fingers connected to the heart. How much pain she must have felt. All night, Zheng knelt on that cold floor like an abandoned child, sobbing in complete breakdown. I floated as a phantom in mid-air, coldly watching him, my anger only growing stronger. He was the one who'd been faithless and blind to right and wrong. Why should he get to live peacefully? What right did he have to atone with mere tears? As resentment gathered in my chest, I clearly felt some mysterious power surge through my spirit, allowing me to manipulate objects in the room. I concentrated all my grievance, controlling a heavy blue and white porcelain vase on the shelf. Crash! The vase smashed hard against Zheng's head, shattering. Soon, bright red blood flowed from his forehead down his chin, dripping to the floor, making him look utterly wretched. Zheng swayed from the impact, stunned briefly, but showed no fear. Instead, he scrambled up with joy, shouting into the void. Shuli, is it you? I knew you couldn't bear to leave. Shuli, you are still here, aren't you? Zheng ignored his head wound and lunged toward where the vase had shattered, letting the floor's fragments cut his palms until blood ran freely. He clutched the shards tightly, feeling no pain, as though this body wasn't his. He cried like a lost child, babbling incoherently. Clearly the witness was already summoned. Clearly, if I'd just asked one more question, if I'd just listened to one sentence, she wouldn't have died. Just one sentence. Why didn't I listen? Why was I so arrogant? Why didn't I listen? Slap! He suddenly struck himself hard. The sharp sound echoed as half his face instantly swelled. Zheng, you beast. You deserve to die. You are the one who should have died. Truly, I am sorry. I am sorry I killed you. As long as you are happy, you can kill me, beat me to death. Since he made this request, I was naturally happy to oblige. Chairs, flower stands, heavy books, everything I could control rained down on Zheng. Guards outside heard the tremendous noise and tried to rescue him, but he angrily drove them away. Zheng's official robes were torn, hair dishevelled, face bloodied, bruised all over, exactly like a madman. He laughed and cried, shaking violently before finally collapsing powerlessly in the ruins. I drifted from the rafters day after day, coldly watching Songjung lock himself away. He grew thinner daily, becoming gaunt and skeletal. Cheekbones protruding, eyes sunken, beard wild. Where was any trace of the magistrate? He looked exactly like a dying beggar. This day, heavy snow fell outside. I watched him shakily withdraw an elegant porcelain bottle from his sleeve and remove the stopper. Without even drinking water, he tilted his head back and dry swallowed the deadly powder. Then he tightly embraced the black box containing my belongings and curled up on the bed where we'd once slept together. As the poison took effect, his features began contorting, but in the bed curtain's shadow, his lips twisted into the faintest smile. It was a smile of relief, of finally ending everything. Shuli, I am coming to find you. I am coming to make amends. The road to the underworld is cold, please wait for me. Soon black blood flowed from his ears, mouth, and nose. His body convulsed several times before going completely still. Moments later, a transparent shadow drifted from his broken body. That shadow frantically circled the room like a headless fly, shrieking my name desperately. Shuli, Shuli. But I didn't wait for him. I watched myself gradually become transparent, dissolving into countless fine, crystalline points of light, scattering in winter's cold wind. Songjung, even in death, I don't want to see you again. Even as ghosts, I refuse to walk beside you, life after life. We shall never meet again.